What's going on, guys? It's your boy DJ Skandalous here, and we're back with an all new episode of Tupac The Breakdown, where I break down a new Tupac song each and every week, every Friday. For this week, we're going to break down the song Are You Still Down? Now, as you guys may know, Tupac recorded several songs called Are You Still Down? There's Are You Still Down from the 1997 album Are You Still Down? And that's the solo track. Then there's also Are You Still Down with John B. That's a totally different song. It just happens that they have the same name, and since Tupac did not release the Are You Still Down songs, he made a whole new version of the song with John B about 2 years later, while he was on Death Row Records. And that's usually the case with a lot of Tupac tracks, is he'll have the same name for multiple tracks, but it doesn't mean they're the same track. It just means that either he's going to be recycling some of the same lyrics or the same verses, or he may just take the name and just totally flip the whole song. And this has happened several times with such songs like Bury Me a G, where he made a solo version, 4-verse solo, and then he made a 2-verse version with Thug Life, and then a radio version is completely different with all new verses by Tupac and the Outlaws. As well as Holla If You Hear Me, the original is a totally different beat, totally different verses by Tupac, and has Big Stretch and Majesty, while the version on the album is a different beat and 3 new verses. So for this one, we're just breaking down the version that's on Are You Still Down, as well as an unreleased version that has not been released yet. Alright guys, so before we get into the actual song, we're just going to break down a little information on the actual album. So the album came out in 1997. It was the first posthumous album. You can consider Machiavelli a posthumous album because it kind of was, but Tupac oversaw the overall sequencing and layout of that album. For this album, he had no say in the lineup of the songs. He had no say in how the songs were produced or how it came out. So this was the very first album by the estate that Tupac did not oversee himself. And this came out on November 25th, 1997. And this was mostly composed of songs from 1992 to 1993 and 1994. Which, like I said guys, I'm totally against albums like this because Tupac has so many blueprints in the vault that they should have just stuck to certain years, such as 93, 94, and then also a 1992 album, as well as a 1990 to 1991 album. Because when you go to songs like 16 on Death Row, and if I Wonder If Heaven Got a Ghetto, where he's faster paced and he has a higher pitched voice, and then you get into songs like Only Fear Death, it's a rather big jump. And it's the same problem that appears on Loyal to the Game, where you have a song like Crooked Nigga 2, where he's very fast paced, very high pitched. The next song like Hennessy or Who Do You Love, he's very deep. It does not sound cohesive like that, and these songs would never have went together if Tupac was alive, or if Tupac was overseeing the album himself. So anyways guys, the album is Are You Still Down, Remember Me, and the first to be finished without his creative input. So this really says the album contains unreleased music from the time period of albums Strictly For My Niggas, Thug Life Volume 1, and Me Against the World. The first release of Are You Still Down was overseen by his mother, Afeni. The album airs his views of life from a time before he became involved with the East Coast West Coast war rivalry. So as you see here, when you go through most of these tracks, a lot of them are original versions, or they're just enhanced. So Redemption is actually a made up interlude using vocals from Open Fire. Open Fire is mostly original. All they did was mix it down together and mute the ad-libs between the verses. Hellraiser is a remix. Thug Style is a remix but uses some elements of the original. This is mostly original. This is a remix. Nothing to Lose is mostly original. I'm Getting Money is a remix. Lie to Kick It is a remix. Fuck All Y'all is a remix. Let Them Things Go is a remix, as well as Definition of the Thug Nigga is original version just touched up. Then on this too, yeah, Ready for Whatever, which is mostly original. When I Get Free is mostly original. Hold On Be Strong is mostly original, just touched up. I'm Losing It is a remix. Fake Ass Bitches is mostly original, just touched up. Do For Love is a remix with the same sample as the original. Enemies With Me is a remix, a crappy one at that. Nothing But Love is mostly original. 16 on Death Row is mostly original, it just has some added instrumentation and a new singer doing Tupac's part of the chorus. Wonder If Heaven Got a Ghetto is mostly original, it just samples the same song that the original version had, as well as Letter to My Unborn. When I Get Free, this is mostly original. The other one is from 1992, while this one's from 1993. And this one is the Soldier voice, where he's all deep toned and stuff like that. But all they did really there was remove the Bob Marley sample. Black Starry Night is mostly original. Only Fear Death is mostly original. So when you go up here, Are You Still Down this is probably the only track on here that's 100% untouched original version. All the other ones are remixes or They took the master reel and they changed stuff around about it. Now this song actually has leaked in DAT form and is mostly the same, it's just very degraded compared to the version on the album. And the song, Are You Still Down? It samples Curtis Mayfield's He's a Fly Guy from the album Take It to the Streets from 1990. And the song was produced by Tony Bazzaro. So if you guys didn't know, Are You Still Down is actual a album concept that Tupac had in 1993 and 1994. He actually had a whole album plan with unreleased songs and songs that ended up on Thug Life and Me Against the World. And he went through various stages where he would jump around from albums like America Eats Us Young, Here Come the Pain album, the album Mr. Middlefinger, which also has a title song called Mr. Middlefinger, which is not leaked to the public yet. Then he had an album called Troublesome, which is not to be confused with the 1996 version of the song, as well as the 1992 song and the Troublesome 21 album. The Troublesome 21 album is an album that got rejected by Time Warner in 1992, and that was mostly his 92 tracks like Don't Call Me Bitch and Ghetto Gospel, Still Don't Give a Fuck and songs like that. But then he also revised this in 1994 using the same name again for other track lists. Then you have one here that's untitled, but I believe this is a Street Fame album name, and that Street Fame was actually on a Thug Life album. Then you have another version here with Street Fame and songs like Who Do You Love, Bury Me a G with Thug Life, Thugs Getting Lonely Too. Then he has an album called Out on Bail. Then you have the album called Are You Still Down? And this is the album here. High side, it was Are You Still Down, Bury Me a G, Lord Knows, Temptation, Death Around the Corner, Nothing to Lose, Dear Mama. And the other side of it was Straight Ballin', Hellraiser, Thugs Get Lonely Too, Running from the Police, Out on Bail, Only Fear Death, and Can't Turn Back. Now we aren't too sure which version of the song was for this album. Then you also have this track list here. Part 1 has High Till I Die, My Only Fear Death, Temptation, Straight Ballin', Hold On Be Strong, Dear Mama, Lord Knows, Are You Still Down, Death Around the Corner, Hellraiser, Fuck the World, Thugs Get Lonely Too. Then he has another track list here. High Till I Die, My Only Fear Death, Temptation, Fuck the World, Straight Ballin', Thugs Get Lonely Too, Dear Mama, Death Around the Corner, Hold On Be Strong, Lord Knows, Hellraiser, Are You Still Down? So as you guys see, this kind of resembles the album that they actually released, but it does not have the 1992 tracks that they added in there, like 16 on Death Row, When I Get Free, Let Them Things Go, I Wonder If Heaven Got Ghetto. Has other songs on here, such as Thugs Get Lonely Too and High Till I Die. And then when you see he goes into Me Against the World, the original track list had Out on Bail, Stay True, High Till I Die, Lord Knows, Dear Mama, Hellraiser, Temptation, Straight Ballin', Fuck All Y'all, My Only Fear Death, Are You Still Down, and Hold On Be Strong. So at one point, the song was actually meant for Me Against the World as well. But guys, I want you to look at this track list here called Stay True. And the track list Tupac wrote down on the inside, Out on Bail, Stay True, Temptation, Hellraiser, Lord Knows, Fuck All Y'all, Outside, Dear Mama, High Till I Die, Straight Ballin', My Only Fear Death, Are You Still Down, and America Eats Us Young. Now track 11, it says, produced by Shock G. So this is not the version that we hear on the 1997 album, Are You Still Down? It's the Shock G version. There was another plan for the Are You Still Down album. When Tupac was in prison and his Me Against the World album came out, Interscope as well as Tupac was working on putting together another album. And this would have been mostly composed of unreleased songs that he didn't release in 93 and 94. And this is the track list right here that they were going to release. But then he signed to Death Row Records, so this album never came out. It says Tupac originally planned on releasing Are You Still Down in December of 1995, thinking that he wasn't going to be released from prison until 1999. But Death Row bailed him out, so the album was never released. And when you look here, you got My Block, America Eats Us Young, which is I Gotta Survive, but the original version. Out on Bail, number 4 is Wonder Why They Call You Bitch, which is the pre-Death Row version. Totally different beat, mostly the same sample though, mostly the same verses, but recorded at a different time. But also the third verse is totally different. And then you got Thugs Get Lonely Too. Where do we go from here? Nothing to Lose, Hellraiser, When I Get Free, High Till I Die, My Only Fear Death, Hold On, Be Strong, Sucker for Love, which is Do for Love, and then you have Are You Still Down? Now the DAT that all these songs were on, it actually leaked, and the version here of Are You Still Down is with Shock G, which is the unreleased version that has a totally different beat, has a totally different opening verse than the version that we hear on the 1997 version of Are You Still Down. So this album was already mostly done, but then you had My Block go to the show soundtrack. You had Tupac make a new version of Wonder Why They Call You Bitch in 95. So I can see why they did not use this, but I wish they would have used this instead. Maybe add on Pain, God Bless the Dead, the other version of Are You Still Down. I think that would have been a pretty dope album. and it would have been more consistent based on what Tupac would have wanted and what he envisioned each track going along with. For whatever reason, they didn't include the other version of Are You Still Down, which was the final version. As you see here, this is the version that he wanted to release, the Shock G version, so the other version had to be an early take from '93, but we aren't too sure what album that was mostly written and recorded for. My firm belief is that version that's on the Are You Still Down album, where Tupac goes raise 'em up, Are You Still Down, raise 'em up, that version was for a early take of the Thug Life album, or a possible 93, 94 track list, and he ended up re-recording it, because when you listen to the Shock G version of the vocals, it sounds more like Thugs Get Lonely Too. It sounds more like songs like Dear Mama and the flow of Death Around the Corner and songs like that. Rather than the other version, it's more faster paced, higher pitched, where he sounds a little bit younger. And if you aren't familiar with the two versions, like I said, the one with the Curtis Mayfield sample, that one has 3 verses, and the Shock G version has 3 verses of its own. But that recording came maybe several months or a year later. Now the verses, they share 2 of the same verses, however, the third verse of the 1997 version album is different, while the first verse of the unreleased version is different. So what I mean by that is Tupac, he recorded verse 1, he uses the Now Up and At 'em and it's on. Verse 2, I'm getting high, so a nigga think he touched the sky. And then the third verse, I wrote this for my critics and my enemies. And then when he did the later take, he completely removed this third verse, and he moved verse 2 to the verse 3 slot, and he removed the verse 1 to the verse 2 slot, and he made a new opening first verse. And I'm going to show you this right now. So here we got the song on Are You Still Down?
Now up and at 'em is on. I was raised to be strong, and mama told me be a thug since the day I was born. I came up.
Now here you're going to hear that verse on the other version.
Now up and at 'em is on. I was raised to be strong, and mama told me be a thug since the day I was born. I came up.
Now we're going to go to verse 2 here.
I'm getting high, so a nigga think he touched the sky. Turn tough inside, in the rush to die.
Now this is going to be the third verse on the later recording.
I'm getting high, so a nigga think he touched the sky. Turn tough inside, in the rush to die.
You can tell with this version his vocals are more stretched out, it's not as fast paced, and he's more emphasizing on the wordplay. Now we're going to go back to the other version and listen to the third verse.
I wrote this for my critics and my enemies last year used to love me, huh? Remember me?
So we don't really hear that on this version, but we do get this.
I never had a father figure, I was raised by the thugs and the drug dealers. That's why I love niggas. Until they place me in my casket, guess I'll be a hopeless bastard. Getting high in the back, plastic. Ain't nobody make a way for me. Time's hard.
An old theory that this version wasn't used is because Shock G came out and he said that his estate did not like some of the lines that Tupac was talking about, having the father figure, and he left him, and also selling drugs and like that. But overall, I think this version is so much better than the other version. Even though I love the Are You Still Down version that's on the album, I think this version is more reminiscent of Me Against the World and would have fit perfectly on that album. It has Natasha Walker, it has a beautiful chorus, and a very laid-back mellow track. And as you can hear with the chorus here.
Shut a real nigga down, staying true to the game. Fuck the fame, I still won't change. Are you still down? Are you still down? Are you still down?
And it's a shame that this version was not used on the album. I can see that they didn't release both versions, maybe because they shared lyrics, but they could have cut off one verse from each version and made them 2 verse solo tracks with totally different verses. But then you would have been sacrificing a verse from each track, but it would have been considered a part 1 and part 2. What I would have done is I would have threw it on there anyway. But now since they did not release the other version, I think what they should do is take that opening verse, the father figure verse that we just listened to, and maybe remix it and get someone else like J. Cole on the song and give it a new name. And then they can use the final version with all 3 verses and mix it down with Natasha Walker on it and use that for a soundtrack or movie soundtrack or a documentary. Anyways, guys, that's it for today's episode of Tupac the Breakdown. I know I didn't spit a lot of facts and stories about this song, but I just wanted you to understand that Tupac recorded this song twice with mostly the same lyrics. He just swapped out an old verse for a new verse, and for whatever reason that they didn't even release this song. But overall, he had the song title picked out for many different versions of Are You Still Down, and we didn't even get that version of the album that he last approved of released. We got like a Frankenstein album, yet again from the estate. Anyways, guys, do you like this song? Do you think this song should be released? Do you think it should be remixed? Do you think they should use the verse for a new song as well as release the solo version? I think they should remix it and then maybe have the original version on iTunes, Spotify, as well as Tupac Vivo as a bonus. And they should do that with a couple other songs that have reused verses. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening to this long episode here. I'm probably going to do Dear Mama next week. Thanks for listening. Take care. Peace out.